Hello, and welcome to the second Phoenix Flyer. It's March 7th, and I'm your host, Imaginary. Today I'll talk about my recent invitation to Unibot, dissect Osiris' recent withdrawal from the New Pacific Order War, explain and introduce my new cabinet, and finally, sing Legends Never Die in an effort to inspire jokesters to do great things in nation-states. Please enjoy! On March 2nd, last Monday, I invited Unibot to Lazarus in order to help with our regional news service. I was aware of the common gameplay community knowledge that around 5 years ago he had sexually harassed multiple players. However, considering he had apologized for his predatory behavior years ago, I decided that his previous misdeeds could be moved on from. Communities never have an obligation to allow in those who've misconducted themselves, or anyone for that matter, but I do think sometimes misconduct can be forgiven and the perpetrators rehabilitated at the initiation of those in the community. This was the reasoning behind my invitation to Unibot, but while I had no malintent, I disregarded two important things that I should have given more attention to, and that would have changed my response to the situation. First of all, had Unibot accepted my invitation and the admins and CEO followed through with my judgment call, an inherent risk would have been made by allowing an individual with a known tendency toward predatory behavior access to the Laz community and all its members. While such a risk would be okay if accepted by one individual for themselves, it's not appropriate when one individual, particularly one with as little admin experience as I, accepts that risk for others without consultation. Second of all, I did not consider how the prior victims of Unibot might be affected were he to emerge in the community of Lazarus. A better approach to the situation than mine would have been to consult with them as well as the Laz community to see if they had forgiven Unibot or were at least comfortable with him being around again. After all, it's not fair to give second chances to the predator at the cost of the victim. I'm sorry for how I handled this, but I think my mistake has helped me understand how I could have done better. And it's also made me realize how supportive those around me are. Reaching out to a generally blacklisted player like Unibot can often lead to harsh criticisms and ostracization, which is understandable, but instead of this, I mainly received worried questions about my reasoning, which soon turned to supportive advice. Thank you all for your understanding. Now for some interregional news. Following the release of multiple incriminating chat logs in late 2018 involving officials of the New Pacific Order spying on other regions, many governments broke diplomatic ties with the Order, and a sizable number, including Osiris and Lazarus, declared war on the Pacific's government. A year later, the newly appointed Vizier of Foreign Affairs in Osiris, Wimdum, created a citizen poll on whether or not to leave the war. A resounding majority voted to break hostilities, and Wimdum contacted me, the soon-to-be-elected managing director of LazCorp, suggesting a similar poll be held for our shareholders. It was accordingly created, but the results were inverted. Twice as many wished to remain at war in Lazarus as wished to leave. Osiris was hoping that perhaps we could terminate hostilities in solidarity, but it now seemed that our regional goals regarding the war were no longer the same. After further communication with Lazarus, and our assurance that it was okay for Osiris to make their own decision to leave or stay, we were notified on February 28th that the Council of Scribes had indeed voted in the end of the war for them. This information caused extensive discussion among the shareholders of LazCorp on what our response should be. Some posited that we should not have consented to them drawing out of the war and leaving us alone in the fight among game-created regions. Others argued that the war had gone on plenty long enough, and that now was a perfect time to end it in Lazarus as well. Personally, I think it is okay that Osiris drew out. Due to remaining in the anti-Pacific coalition, they are still bound to provide assistance should the MPO attack others again. And if their citizenry believes it's time to stop open hostility, then I can only respect their government working towards that goal. As for Lazarus, I don't think Osiris' decision should unduly affect our participation in the war. We have had a different past regarding the MPO, so I think it makes sense that we may have a reflectively different war with them as well. Of course, the decision will always ultimately be up to our shareholders. Now for some more local news. I recently made an announcement in the Managing Director's office thread on our forums on changes made to the cabinet. When I was campaigning for this position, I mentioned that I would probably completely change up my directors in a month based on their performance. I know I'm a bit late, but that is because of the tangible effort the original directors put into their jobs that led to success I didn't want to throw away after that first month. Why change things up now? Are the directors so terrible all of a sudden? Not exactly. I have two main reasons, apart from the desire to keep my campaign promises. I want to give more people who've earned it the opportunity to be leaders, and I want to give attention to wider areas of departments by allowing multiple people who are going to have different interests and ideas access to building them. For example, in January I appointed Custadia, also known as McChimp, as Public Relations Director. He did an amazing job instigating our treaty with the South Pacific and communicating with the East Pacific, but has shown little interest in building an ambassador team. This is somewhat to be expected considering he has been involved in legislature, not outreach, for most of his time here. But I think having someone more integratively involved, like Kingdom of Naples, also known as Joe What Up, now would be good for the department. Similarly, Leonism has been excellent in dealing with some areas like roleplay, but I think the different interests of Debussy, who has impressed me recently with his reliability, will help internal management find success in even more areas. The new directors are serving on a provisional basis now, but will be voted on by the Assembly in the coming weeks. Good luck to them both. On to what you're obviously really here for, the music. If you're in the LazCorp Discord, you probably know Jokesters by his seeming addiction to kidnapping Chief Executive Officer Tubius. Oftentimes when I see his messages, I wonder what his future will be in this game. He was sent as an ambassador to Lazarus 2 years ago from the New Pacific Order, and despite that job obviously no longer being relevant anymore, he still hangs around the Laz community and has been fun getting to know. Like most players on nation states, he's nice to talk to, quite creative judging by his exploits in Minecraft, but doesn't do much besides being social. And I don't mean to imply that's a bad thing at all, but I feel like if that's all you do, you're missing out on this game. So I'd like to ask Josters, if you're going to play nation states, why not get out there with an idea and do something spectacular? Because of the open nature of nation states, there's barely a limit on what one can create. So go make a name for yourself. Why not become a legend? Speaking of, here's the motivational piece Legends Never Die, originally sung by Against the Current for the 2017 League of Legends World Championship.
Legends never die. When the world is caught in you, can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die. They become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, relentless, you'll survive. You never lose hope when everything's cold and the fighting's near. It's deep in their bones, they'll run into smoke when the fire is near. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die. When the world is caught in you, can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die. They become a part of you every time you bleed for reaching greatness. Legends never die. They're written down in eternity, but you'll never see the prize. It cost the scars collected all their lives. When everything's lost, they pick up their hearts and avenge defeat. Before it all starts, they suffer through harm just to touch a dream. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die. When the world is caught in you, can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die. They become a part of you every time you bleed for reaching greatness. Relentless, you'll survive. When the world is calling out your name, begging you to fight, pick yourself up once more. Pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die. When the world is caught in you, can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die. They become a part of you every time you bleed for reaching greatness. Legends never die.
Yeah, I added some funky stuff this time. I hope you enjoyed today's Phoenix Flyer. If you have comments, concerns, or would like to assist with production, please get in contact. My Nation and Discord tag are in the description below. Thank you for listening to the Phoenix Flyer. It'll be back next week on Saturday.